I think everyone can look back at their life and think of at least one crucial decision that changed things forever, whether it be taking a job, or maybe you dropped out of school, or maybe you broke up with a girlfriend, or whatever. For me, it was buying this car. If you're new here, you're probably surprised and have never even seen this car before. And honestly, that's just because, quite frankly, nothing since day one has ever gone right on this car, ever. To get a better idea of exactly what I'm talking about, let's cover the important stuff.
And I'm gonna run and chase real fast. I'm gonna go grab some cash for this car, and I'll give the camera to Jake. There he goes.
So there is 19-year-old me walking out of Chase with a bag full of cash and left with nothing except for a dream of having a successful YouTube channel. At the time, I had one successful YouTube video that had caught a good bit of traction. And rather than let the opportunity slip, I decided to drop everything and pursue it. So I pulled out every penny that I had, including a few $1,000s that I had borrowed from friends and family. And I managed to somehow scrape together just enough money to be able to pay for this car. Now, why this car? Believe it or not, we actually did a lot of market research, if you will, to figure out that not many people had really been making videos with the S550 Mustangs. It was a newer generation Mustang at the time, and nobody had really covered them content-wise compared to a lot of the other affordable sports cars on the market. In the beginning, I won't lie, everybody told me that I was stupid for what I was about to do, but I think the thing that kept me going was the thought of regret and looking back in the future and being like, damn, what if I would have bought that car? And what if I would have pursued that? And what if, you know, just what if? So a few days later, I bought the most expensive thing that I had ever bought and started making content with it. Right off the bat, the first month making content with this car went amazing. We had a lot of pretty big videos at the time, including letting my mom drive the car.
Hey, put it in neutral. Chip, no, don't do that. That's how you blow a motor up.
Pranking my audience into thinking I had totaled it just after buying it.
And somebody ran a red light. They hit the car, and so the car's pretty much gone, I'm pretty sure. Today is April Fool's, bitch.
And somehow I managed to make 2 viral videos as well. One of them just showing you how to wash a car, and secondly, we made another video showing how to put tire shine on. It was obvious I was onto something, so I kept going. I started modifying the car and doing drag and roll racing for the first time ever in my life, and I had an absolute blast with it. So whenever Street Speed 717 called me out to the YouTube call out way back in the day now, I knew I had to take it even further.
I'm also going to invite It's Just a Six. This is a new YouTuber that's kind of blowing up right now. He's got a, I think, a 5.0 Mustang, so we'd love to see.
Because see, in the beginning, I really never planned on going much past the stock 700 horsepower that the car came with, but I knew going to that event and making a statement would be very, very crucial for my humble YouTube career.
You didn't run yet?
Nope.
I ran mid-7s.
Okay.
Shoot for that.
Okay.
I just beat straight speed 717 right there.
That was it. That was it. That was it right there. I just beat street speed 717 by half a second in the 8th.
So this was my first experience seeing just how ruthless 900 horses can be when they decide to kick back. Doing technically what I intended to do, just not exactly how I intended to do it. So let me paint a picture for you. You're 19 years old, you're 1,000 miles from home, you've got $0 left to your name, you're in a friend's truck and trailer that you borrowed, you owe thousands of dollars to friends that you're planning on making back from a race event, and then everything falls apart. Literally. Blowing that engine was the last thing that I needed to happen in that moment, but unfortunately it did. It just really sucked because that was where I was making all of my money from, and I couldn't make any more videos. And did I mention that 2 weeks prior I had actually quit my job and dropped out of school to pursue YouTube full time? Yeah, bad timing. In that moment, more than ever, I just wanted to give it all up. But for some reason, the song lyrics Don't Lose Sight from the song that we actually used in the reveal for the car had stuck with me.
Don't lose sight.
and it really gave me the inspiration that I needed to just keep going. So I took the slogan, put it on a shirt, put it up for sale as a limited weekend drop, and the support that we got post-drop was unreal. And quite literally, that specific moment was the only thing that kept this YouTube channel going. Through that and a lot of sleepless nights back then, a few weeks later, I finally had figured out a way to continue content, and I ended up with a new engine in the car. It was a stock engine, but it was an engine. Once the car was back, it was go time. I had a pretty established audience at the time, and YouTube revenue kept climbing month by month. And so I reinvested every penny that I could back into making the videos bigger and better and doing whatever that it took to try to get that car to run a 9-second pass at the quarter-mile track. Between doing wheels, brakes, supercharger mods, you name it, people began to love to follow the build that I was doing. I mean, I was a completely inexperienced driver in a 4,000-pound stick car trying to run a 9-second pass. It was an absolute shit show. And eventually, it worked.
Oh my God, it hooked! Oh. Yes! Yes! We did it! We did it! You broke it in that.
I tried. I was literally talking to my camera and I was like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm good. And I got up there and I got the time slip and I was like, it was a 1.5 60 foot. Ran 114 in the eighth and 148 in the quarter.
After realizing I was pushing the second stock engine to its max potential yet again, I tried to think a little bit ahead and do things different than how I had previously to keep myself from getting in a bind, and so I purchased a stronger engine. Timelines advanced a few weeks later whenever the second stock engine unfortunately blew up racing demonology. Before it blew up though, it ran 971 in a manual car with a stock motor and stock trans, and it was on a very good path to go even faster. But unfortunately the engine let go before we could find out, which meant, hey, it was finally time to swap in that built engine and get to really cooking. That was the plan, at least. Some of you may already know about the lovely events that transpired from this 1,500 horsepower rated engine failing multiple times, actually. But for those of you who missed it, here is a legally appropriate summary to catch you guys up to speed.
We're doing it. This is it.
After we got the engine installed, we decided to take it to the Money Shift event and debut the car.
That scared me so bad that I forgot where third gear was.
Well, on the very, very, very first pass that the car had ever made, it started knocking.
Well guys, we got the car unloaded off the trailer, but listen to this.
So, just like I always do, we make a video trying to diagnose the engine and figure out what went wrong, because we're just trying to get the car back on the road as quickly as remotely possible.
This entire bank is consistent at like 151. This entire bank is consistent at like 187. Why is that? Who knows?
And the builders apparently really did not like that. So 7 a.m., a few hours after the video had dropped, I wake up to a phone call from their legal team. It took weeks, but finally we had come to a conclusion on how to make them happy. And that was for us to send them the engine, they were gonna fix it, and everything was gonna be great.
Hopefully this gets fixed in a timely manner. That's my only concern at this point. I just want to have this engine back and actually being able to go make some passes of the drag strip. That's just all that I'm looking forward to.
We were told that it would be about a month from the time that we sent it off to him for us to be getting it back. And about a month into the ordeal, it was very obvious that we were not getting that engine back anytime soon.
Gavin just talked to Doug on the phone. Doug's not very happy because Gavin wants to twin turbo the Mustang.
The black car. I don't know what to call that car. I hate calling it Satan. That's so stupid.
Well, it's hard to make content with a car that has no engine in it, so I scrambled, quickly got a local shop here to build me a Coyote engine, and we threw it in the car. And then on the road trip where we were just trying to do braking miles on it, a bad batch of E85 caused it to fail yet again. It was at this point that some people started making accusations that I was just lying about everything to make content. And that really doesn't make sense to me, nor did it at the time, but whatever. Nearly 5 months later, we had finally gotten the original built engine back, and we were ready to throw it in. Excited as ever. We did our 4th engine install into this car in under a year.
This tune has made the most power so far. 914.
You don't have anything to worry about. You can just beat on it all you want. The belt came on.
Hold on. What in the fuck?
Oh my God. What a meme.
This car needs to get used to being on the limiter, bro.
And guess what? It blew up! This time though, before it could even make it to the track, we pulled the car off the dyno after tuning and took it out for a test pull, and it blew up.
Oh, yeah, we're losing oil pressure.
Dude, no
Just make it back to the shop.
So we pulled it back home, pulled the engine apart, and found some pretty nasty carnage.
Dude, this is some pretty paint. Look at the flake.
Hey, give me some light in there.
Wow.
Holy mother of God.
Jesus Christ.
Well, there we go. Well, it's definitely obvious. We had a head gasket failure. These are...
Head gaskets.
Whoa. Looky here, though.
Oh, you can see the heat.
You can see heat. That's heat, dude.
A little bit.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
Alrighty.
culprit.
I'm going to go ahead and set this down.
Yep, that's it right there, boy.
And ever since then, it has sat collecting dust. The last thing that you guys heard about this car was that we were changing directions with it, and that's pretty much been all that you guys have heard. It has been 7 months that that car has sat in the exact same spot, and today we moved it. I'm not giving up on my race car just yet.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
Well, here it is. If you guys couldn't tell by the opening section of this video, there is obviously a lot that has happened with this car in a short amount of time, and it's been pretty damn hard to follow, I would say. And to clear up a lot of that confusion that has ensued from all of these events kind of just catastrophically spiraling out of control, we're gonna answer some tweets. So I made a tweet and I asked, hey, ask me anything about this car, I'm gonna answer it. And we got a lot of pretty good responses. So I'm gonna go through them and answer a few questions and explain a lot about what has been going on and what the future looks like with this car. Question number 1. Why did it take so long? Not being rude, just a legitimate question. It's been close to a year, I think. Correct, it has actually been a really long time. And truly the reason why it took so long is because whenever the old engine blew up in the car, at that very second, RPG and I had gotten together and we had started developing a plan for a new direction with this car, but unfortunately it took a while to get our plan in action. Ordering parts, being that this entire thing, which we're gonna get into in a second, but the entire engine here, top to bottom, is very, very custom. It uses a lot of custom parts. which took a while to manufacture, and obviously due to the issues with COVID and things like that, it took a while for him to even receive a lot of the parts and then finally assemble it and get it over to me. So, sorry it did take so long. Question number 2, would you remove any of the current mods? Yes, actually, that is a very, very good point that we're gonna get into in a minute, but a lot actually is changing on that car. We didn't know exactly what to do with all the old parts because there is a lot that's gonna be coming off to be replaced with new stuff, of course, and we didn't wanna just list all of the old parts online. So we found a pretty good solution for it. But like I said, stick around for the end of the video and we'll get into that because it's pretty exciting. But anyway, next question. Will you give it away at some point and when? No, I'm not gonna give this one away. Next question. What kind of motor / trans setup are you looking at doing? Still a Coyote, Procharger, Turbo, Nitrous, or NA? And are you gonna stick with the manual transmission or some kind of power glide or automatic? Love the car and can't wait to see what you do with it. This is the perfect point, actually, that I wanted to start talking about this lovely engine, and this question is probably going to be answered in a lot of different ways. So let me get into that. So firstly, this is the new engine. Is it a Coyote? Kind of. Yes, it is going to stay a stick car. No, it is not getting a power glide. That was one of the biggest things with this car at why I really loved it so much is because stick car racing is a dying breed of racing. It's not around that much anymore, especially in the drag scene. And so this car was really cool to me for that reason. It takes a lot of dedication that most people are not willing to put into the sport, you know? And so anyways, yes, it is gonna stay with the same transmission that we had previously because the built transmission that's in the car that we got for it has only made a pass and a half, or a half pass, I believe, down the drag strip. So everything still needs to be ran as it sits. So yeah, it's gonna stay a stick car, same built transmission. As far as power adder goes, it is going to change. I told you guys the last time that you saw actually about this car was whenever the engine blew up, and I told you guys I was done. I really was done with the supercharged setup on this car. I did not want to deal with it anymore. There's a lot of frustrations that came along with that setup, and I was just ready to ditch it. I guess this is the first time that we're going to publicly talk about this, but yeah, the car is going to be a twin turbo car. It is changing directions entirely, and it is going to be absolutely ridiculous. And this engine was specifically built with the intentions of going to a twin turbo setup. So, speaking of the engine, let's go ahead and dive into this RPG level 4, 2,000 horsepower, 5.2 liter engine. Got this fancy dancy RPG build sheet for this engine, so let me walk through. And normally I would just quickly give you guys a rundown of this thing, but this one specifically is actually pretty complex. So this is a Gen 3 5.2 liter RPG 2R block that has been fully prepped and machined for dart and select fit sleeves. So it's got dart and sleeves in it. It is a sleeved 5.2 liter engine. This is not a 5.0. So let's start with the crankshaft. It's got a Boss 302 5.0 crankshaft that's been micro polished and cryogenically treated. It is double keyed. Long story short, for you guys out there who don't speak engine, it's strong. It's very strong. Next up, we've got Manley and RPG spec 5.2 liter extreme duty pistons. Also, very strong. Oliver Ultra billet steel I-beam rods. Even stronger. We've got a ring set, main and rod bearings, RPG billet oil squirter block offs, ARP main studs, ARP 12mm head studs. We've actually got GT500 head gaskets from the new Predator engines, so that's pretty cool. Now, as far as the heads go, this is where it gets pretty cool. So these heads are actually ported by Frankenstein. They were completely worked by Frankenstein with oversized valves with some titanium retainers, incredible valve springs from PAC. There is a lot of good stuff going on in the heads of this engine. As you guys remember, if you can't tell from the front of this, the last engine that we had also had lockouts on it, and that's why you guys were able to hear that nice cam chop. Well, we've got cams inside of this engine as well, and they have also been locked out. So get ready for some very, very good sounding turbo chop noises. On the front of it, we've got an HD timing set. So we've got billet timing chains and timing arms, HD timing chain tensioners off of the GT500 as well. And lastly, a lot of the timing components that are on here are actually off of a Gen 2 Coyote. So I guess technically it's still a Coyote. I want to say huge huge thanks to Frankenstein for sponsoring all of the porting on these heads and setting these heads up for us. I have a feeling that they're gonna do amazing. And so I just wanted to say real quickly, thank you guys so much over there at Frankenstein. They do amazing porting work. If you guys wanna go check them out, you can click the link down below or visit their Instagram page. And while we're already talking about it, RPG, thank you guys so much. None of this stuff would be possible without RPG. Will over there at RPG was actually the guy that helped me cultivate the ideas and the planning for this entire build, and he was the one that made it all happen. So huge thanks to Will. So sorry for getting a little derailed there, but the long story short of it is that this engine has parts from the GT500s, from the Predator engines, from Coyotes, from literally a bunch of different platforms, all coming together and using the best of each to make a 2,000 horsepower capable engine. And now a lot of people are confused on what that means and have been confused in the past whenever we've talked about 1,500 horsepower engines. It does not mean that we're making 2,000 horsepower out of this engine. It means that this engine is rated for 2,000 horsepower. So we will be good to make up to that amount. It's reliable, apparently, at 2,000 horsepower. And so I think we're gonna test that and find out. Maybe not 2,000, but I would say a little bit more than what it was making before. Next question. When you race it, do you think it will be fast enough to make you finally use the parachute? If this is a subliminal roast, then haha. But yes, it will be fast enough to use the parachute, I promise. Next question. Do you have an emotional connection with the black car? And if so, why? Yes, actually, I really do. Truly, I think it's because of how much that car has taught me about patience and about life in general. I know that sounds crazy, but you talk to anybody who builds cars and who is in the car scene, and that is what the car scene is truly about. It's a learning process. You learn so much about life in general from building a car from the ground up and all of the struggles, and you learn how to not just give up. Like I said, if it was for me just throwing all of this away a long time ago, we'd never be at the point that we're at now. And I think that that's a valuable lesson that a lot of you guys can take for your own life. If you were to just stop and not pursue the things that you really believe in, you never know what could happen. And that is, I think, the biggest takeaway that I've had from this car is just truly the potential that comes from just cars in general. Honestly, I think that is why a lot of YouTubers have started coming out more and more talking about the EPA and the RPM Act and stuff like that that's been going on, is because of the fact that race cars as a whole are really at risk currently. And if you guys don't know about all of the stuff that's been going on, basically the EPA has been slowly but surely restricting race cars more and more, and all of that is about to go away. Just to backtrack a little bit, if you guys remember the whole Save the Manuals series that we did with the giveaways, the purpose of that entire thing was because we wanted to bring awareness to the manual transmission. That was a dying breed. The manual transmission was going away, and it still is, but we wanted to use that promotional effort that we had through doing the giveaways in hopes that we could try to generate some buzz about Save the Manuals and hashtag Save the Manuals and all of this and that. But the long story short is that things have just gotten a little bit worse since then. And it's about more than just a manual transmission at this point. It's about race cars as a whole. And so if you look on the YouTube platform, you'll see there's been a lot of people who have been really trying to push for people to go sign the RPM Act. It's the only thing that we've got at the moment. And without that, I don't know what the future of race cars look like, or the future of racing in general, and the future of this channel, and the future of the car scene on YouTube. And that's a really scary thought. And so seeing things like Cletus, he went and bought a racetrack. He's been hosting as many events there as possible, trying to get as many people back invested into motorsport. And I really love that. And same thing with Adam LZ and TJ Hunt. A lot of those guys have been mentioning a lot about the RPM Act. And I mean, they've had tens of thousands of people going out to events where they're trying to push that message as much as possible. And while I don't own a racetrack, we had an idea for something that we could possibly do to bring awareness to race cars, because the RPM Act is something that really needs to be talked about more. And while we can't bring awareness in person to tens of thousands of people, what we can do is virtually. We have millions and millions of people who we can have impressions on and try our absolute best to get this in front of them and let them know about what is actually going on. And that actually kind of ties in directly to what I mentioned earlier whenever I said I didn't know what we were gonna do with all of the parts off of this car. So we've got one more thing to show you. All right, so are we good to show them? Screw it. So, up to this point, this entire video has actually been devoted to talking about how the black car is going to change. It's changing directions, it is changing everything that everybody knows that car for up to this point, and it is not going to look anywhere close to the same. And I know in a few months from now, not that many people are even going to really remember what this car was. And so to continue the legacy of that car and to give somebody the opportunity to build their own race car, because I know what that is and what that means and how much it can really help somebody's life out, this is Save the Race Cars #1. There's no hype. We didn't want to hype this up. We didn't want to give you guys any big reveal or anything. This is just what it is. I just wanted to explain the whole entire thing, explain why we're doing this, and show you guys the car. So this is a 2016 GT350. It's black. It's almost identical to the black car. In fact, if you had them cleaned up and parked next to each other, you would almost think that they're the same exact car. And that's because truly, they almost are. They're both the exact same year. They share the same front end. They share the same paint code. They share a lot of the exact same stuff, including parts. And so if you guys remember, I said that we were changing a lot of stuff on this car. We didn't know what to do with all of the parts that were on this car because they're iconic. They've been remembered as the parts that were on this car for so long. It's a very specific look that this car has, and we didn't want to just throw that away. We wanted to make sure that we continued the legacy of that car. And so this is legacy. This is our new GT350 that we are giving away as Save the Race Cars #1. And it is going to be a short little build that we're going to do essentially to replicate what you guys have seen and know of that car. We don't want to just give up on that whole entire image and let it be forgotten. So to continue the legacy of the car, we're taking a lot of the parts that we're actually going to be pulling off of that whenever we start this turbo build and whenever we start changing up a lot of the looks and stuff like that. We're going to take all of the parts that were on that car, put it on here, and we're gonna let one of you guys take it home. So anyways, if you guys wanna check out all of the details on it and figure out how you can get entered in to win it, just go to www.itsjustasix.com. And you're probably wondering why I'm not saying DLS.store. And that's because you guys already know, we've already got a giveaway still going on with the FRS on that site, but it ends in 2 weeks. And once that is over, Don't Lose Sight is going dark. We are planning something pretty big for Don't Lose Sight, but again, not for this video. Now, for the first time that we have ever done a giveaway, we're not selling just Don't Lose Sight merch. We're actually finally selling channel merch. We're selling channel designs, stuff with the cars on them, stuff that you guys have been asking for a long time, but it just didn't make sense to put with the Don't Lose Sight brand. And since Don't Lose Sight is actually gonna rebrand and take off on its own leg anyways, we figured let's make It's Just a Six the best thing that we can for you guys. And so I am truly excited to let one of you guys take home this GT350. It's immaculate, it really is. There's a lot of crazy stuff on the website that you guys really need to check out. New products, new designs, all new features, and we are going to continue adding to the site as we go. But again, didn't want to overhype this, just wanted to let you guys know. We're gonna be building a clone of it essentially. So we're gonna be taking this engine, getting it installed into this car, and we're wasting no time. The engine has arrived, it just got here. We didn't want to waste any time. We're getting this thing in there. Tomorrow, we are going to take it over to Taylor, who is going to be the guy who's going to be doing all of the turbo kit fabrication. You guys are going to see us walk through the plans for the car, ideas that we have for the turbo kit, and they're pretty effing wild. I'm gonna keep my language happy. But anyways, no, seriously, I am extremely excited to tell you guys what we have planned. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. We really loved making this video. And I, like I said, am super excited for you guys to see what we've got planned. Content is about to get taken to a whole new level. And we're just done playing games. We really are. So long-winded explanation to say thank you guys so much. And if you want to get entered in and win a 2016 GT350, go to itsjustasix.com right now, and every dollar that you spend is going to get you another automatic entry. And we'll see you guys next video.